Hey folks, so just a quick update right now, right after work. I haven't been home long, but I decided to do a walkthrough of my garden, and I figure I'll take you along with me. I've already gone through and picked a few things, and I want to show you that first before we do an actual walkthrough of the garden. Okay, so as you can see, I've already picked some stuff. Some squash, and again, I've got another large squash. I got 4 this time. I got a bell pepper, a couple of early girl tomatoes, some of my rattlesnake pole beans are ready, a whole bunch of little cherry tomatoes. But I want to give you an actual walkthrough and look at some of the plants that I've got growing. Now, just a few days ago, I clipped and dried a bunch of my herbs and stuff, but it's looking like it won't be long before I'll need to do that again. So let's start with that. First off was the chives. And you can see here where I'd actually cut it back. You can see these little ends here where I'd cut them off, and it's already grown that much because I'd cut it clean off at that level. So there's already that much more grown. So I'll need to trim those again in a few days and dry those. This is my early girl bush tomato that I've got in a pot. And that's what these came off of. Nice little tomatoes. And as you can see, I've got a lot more on there. These weren't as red as I normally would pick them, but since I've got so many on the vine, I decided to go ahead and get those as well. Now this is my English thyme. It's a little bit dirty from where I just watered everything. I cut it back a good bit, so it's already grown back enough that I need to trim that and dry some more. Same with my rosemary. Over here, now I've just got this out where the rain and sun can get to it. I've got some strawberries here that I need to go ahead and pick. Nice little strawberries. They got a lot of flavor. They're kind of tart. At least the last couple that I picked were a little bit tart. But I've got a couple on there. These, as you may remember, are my potatoes. These are the reds. As you can see one of them right there. These are dying back a little bit, but I'm going to keep watering them and letting them go until this completely dies back. These other 3 here are white potatoes, and this one's starting to die back a little bit too, as you can see, but I'm going to let them go as long as I possibly can. That one's still doing good. This one's still doing really good. It's nice and dark green compared to these others. Man, those frogs are loud, aren't they? All right, and here's all of my mint that I trimmed back. Won't be long before I need to trim it again. It's already sending up more shoots. There's another little strawberry right there. Let's walk out to the garden for a minute. Ignore all that mess. That's some junk I need to get cleaned up. But yeah, let's walk out to the garden real quick. All right, since we're on our way out to the garden, I figured I'd give you another look at my pear tree. They're coming along really nicely. Lots of little pears. I've already harvested a whole bunch of peaches. I've got probably about 2.5 gallons worth of peaches, and even a half a gallon worth of plums off my tree. And there's still some more that I need to harvest. All right, so let's walk out to the garden now. My neighbor's calling her cat. All right, so yes, I know this is horribly overgrown. You can't even see my sweet potatoes hardly. They're right here amongst all this grass. My sunflowers are gone thanks to the deer. They keep making excursions into my garden, so they're gone, as are my okra plants apparently. I'll have to dig through that as soon as I can. My corn is doing pretty good, but it's not getting real tall, possibly due to the lack of sunlight. It's about 4 foot tall. It wouldn't surprise me if I get a couple of really small ears off of this, but I don't know how well it's going to do. It looks good, but it's just not very tall. And again, I've been working so much, 60, 70 plus hours a week. I simply haven't had time to come out here and weed and everything like I should, which I regret. So I know that's a detriment to the garden. There's my squash plants that I pulled a bunch of squash off of. My cucumber plants, which honestly don't seem to be doing much of anything. There's my bell peppers. And there's another little bell pepper right there. And of course, I've got all my tomatoes here, so let's start with this one. If I remember right, this is a Cherokee Purple. This should be another Cherokee Purple. I've got tags in the ground somewhere. And yes, they're overgrown. They're not, they haven't been pruned. I've managed to have time to tie them up, and that's about it. Which I need to do a little bit more tying on it. I definitely need to do some pruning because they are thick and bushy as all get out. I've just been trying to tie them up, keep them off the dirt. Whole bunch of little tomatoes in there, lots of green ones. There's a really big tomato right here, nice and green. This is a Sweet 100 cherry, which is where I got all the cherry tomatoes off of. Lots of green ones in there. Here's another one. I believe this is a Cherokee Purple. And yep, there we go. Yeah, I gotta do some pruning and stuff. But looky there. That one will be right before too long. This is my Roma. And hard to see, but back in there you go. That one actually might be getting close to getting ready to pick. I'll give it another day or two. And there's another one that's got a little bit of orange to it. So there's that. My beans haven't done as good as they did last year. But I did manage to pick some. Oh, there's one I missed. But it's still a little bit little. I can let it get a little bit bigger. They are producing, but the deer has certainly did some damage. They stunted their growth, so they're not as bushy and healthy as they were last year. All right, and then amongst all this mess are my carrots, which I'm hoping they're gonna do pretty good. Pull some of that up. They look nice and healthy. It's hard to see them in among all the grass and weeds, but they're there. I had onions planted here. I thought they were coming up good, but I've been digging through all of this grass and I can't see them anywhere. So I'm thinking bugs and deer probably ate them down to nothing. These are some bush beans, bush lima beans. I don't think those are going to do anything this year because the deer keep walking through eating on them. That mound of potatoes, I'm hoping is going to do pretty good based on how big and bushy it is. But that's a walkthrough of my garden, folks. I know it's nothing fancy, not well kept by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely needs a lot of weeding and work. Again, I've had limited time, so I've been focused on putting up food, drying food, packing the freezer with meat, collecting little bits here and there that I can. And beyond that, I've just been, just about every bit of my waking time has been at work, which is gonna look good on the paycheck, but it's definitely not good for the garden, as you can see. Anyway, gardening is not a guaranteed success, folks. If you learn anything from it, learn from this right here. It takes a lot of work. It takes dedication, consistency, and it takes time. And if you don't put the time in, obviously you're not going to get much. I'm still getting some stuff out of this garden. I'm probably going to score big on the tomatoes this year, and I'll get a few beans. I'm doing pretty good on squash too. Potatoes might be all right, but everything else is going to be pretty much a failure. And again, that just goes to not being able to put in the time on it that I need to. But this is why you start gardening now, and you don't wait for when things all fall apart before you start doing it. Do it now while I'm getting some stuff out of the garden, yes, but I can always go to the store to get something that didn't produce here in the garden. And in an SHTF, there's going to be a learning curve like this. You're going to have successes, you're going to have failures. My beans are mediocre compared to last year. My tomatoes are a big surplus compared to last year. Squash, I didn't even plant last year, so I've gotten a good bit off of that. The only other thing I think I'm going to harvest pretty good, hopefully anyway, is the carrots. Everything else is a failure except maybe the potatoes and my herbs. So yeah, just understand when it comes to gardening, you got to put in the time and effort to learn. You're going to make mistakes. Things are going to get busy and you're not going to have time to do certain things. I've managed to keep up with the watering, but obviously the weeding has been something I haven't had time to get to. Only so many hours in the day, folks, and I haven't had many left. So just, yeah. This is not a major success. This is not a neat, beautiful, pretty garden like a lot of people show. And I'm showing you this on purpose because in an SHTF, chances are your garden's going to look a lot like this. You're not necessarily going to have nice, perfect, neat rows. You're not necessarily going to have a completely weed-free garden. Not everything's going to be 100% success. And you know what? To be honest, my sweet potatoes here might still turn out and produce, but to be honest, people look at this as they're walking down the street and they're probably thinking, well, there's not much in that garden. It's so overgrown and unkept. But I'm actually getting quite a bit out of it so far. Because I've just started. And as I have time, hopefully I can reseed some of the beans, because I've got more bean seed. I'm hoping to try to reseed some of the beans, but I'm trying to wait a little bit until I can have more than half a day off to do it. I may not be able to, though. I may have to just suck it up and come out here in the last hour of daylight that I have and try to get something done. But this looks more like a wild garden than a well-managed and cared for garden. And to be honest, in an SHTF, this will actually attract a little bit less attention than one that is perfectly manicured, organized, and weeded, and nice, neat, and beautiful. Those gardens will attract a lot of attention. This one will attract some attention, but people are going to look at it and they're going to have trouble seeing some of the stuff growing out here because they're going to see more grass and weeds than anything. So who knows, maybe that's a benefit in a way. Anyway, just wanted to give you a quick look at my garden, such as it is. Not an amazing success, but not a complete failure either. Either way, I've gotten something from it. I've gotten produce from it so far, and I've still got a good bit of the season left to go. And I'm learning. And I'm making do with the best I can with what time I have allotted for this. So, you know, showing you my successes and my failures, because you're gonna have failures and nobody's gonna have the perfect successful garden. So don't expect that. All right, that's all I've got for right now. I got to get this basket inside and start putting up whatever I picked. And I got to start dinner as well. So I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, folks, just keep prepping, stay safe, stay vigilant, stay busy, try to do the best you can. Don't get discouraged by struggles or failures. Just keep trying, keep doing your best. You'll be all right. Until next time, folks, I'll catch you later.